Hello, everybody. Welcome to Free China Pod episode 7. Lucky number 7. I just put up episode 6, so it's all up on the Facebooks and stuffs. So that one was pretty good. We got to get Kim back again to do another one.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be down.
It was like that was hands down the funniest one we've done. I was literally Abby was doing something on playing on Instagram or something. When I was editing it, I was just laughing out loud, and she was just kept looking at me. I was like, "It's really funny. I can't help it."
Oh, Abby, I wish you would grow a sense of humor.
I know, right? Well, hopefully, sometime she'll actually be. I mean, last time she did talk a little bit. She didn't talk a ton, but she talked more than she's ever talked on a podcast for sure.
Is she over there?
No, she's. I think she had to work this morning, so.
Yeah, sure she does.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure she does.
I gotta
I believe that.
work or something. Yeah, whatever, Abby.
I'm sure that's the way she said it too.
Yeah.
It just means she went home and showered
For 4
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's work preparation, right?
Yeah, that's right. Gotta shower forever. I don't know. Whatever.
I just got hot water in my house for the first time in 3 weeks. So.
That's a good timing. I don't know how the weather is down there, but yesterday and today has been super cold.
It turned cool here, but during the daytime it's really not bad. I'm my house is about 200 feet from the ocean, so I think this area gets a little cooler than other places, but it's really not bad. I went out in shorts and a t-shirt today.
That's not bad.
On my motorcycle, and no big deal.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, man, I could not go out I could probably go out in shorts today, but not a t-shirt. The problem is that it's raining right now, so it's cold.
We've had a little rain. It's just not as bad here, man. Kaohsiung is just it's just kind of sheltered if you look at the actual geographic wind and sea maps. Basically, we get less wind, we get less storms because everything right now in the wintertime is just blowing from the northeast. So basically, we're in the southwest corner, so the mountains block almost everything.
Do you see the latest typhoon that's going through? It's going through the China Strait. It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Which direction?
It's going up, between Taiwan and China.
Uh-oh.
It's really weird. So actually, we may get hit by that. It may be a bad one for the West Coast, but who knows? We'll see what it does. They've been trending away from Taiwan this year, so I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't
take a look.
I wouldn't mind a day off though, But I don't want to have a bad typhoon either. I don't want anyone's house to get mucked up.
Yeah, that would not be good for anybody.
No, it's not ideal.
Check it out. Check it out real fast.
Yeah, you can. Usually, I just Google Taiwan typhoon, and then it takes you to that the government website. They have pretty good information on the typhoon tracking.
It looks like it's not going to hit Kaohsiung at all. It's towards the Fujian side, more China. I think it'll probably just brush up against Zhongli, but it's probably going to hit China. Yeah,
when I was looking at it last night, it was still the projections were still a little bit away, so it was hard to tell. So I was just gonna wait and see, but hopefully it's not too bad. I wouldn't mind if it went to China. I just kind of want a couple more sunny days before it hits winter time, because that's gonna get miserable.
Yep, you in the north, man. This is the time of year where I'm glad to live in the south.
Yeah, for sure. Well, once we have the premier cram school in all of Taiwan, then we can just buy a house in the north and a house in the south. Just move back and forth.
Send you this. I'll send you a really good map right now.
All right.
This website is pretty cool.
I bought a nice little whatchamacallit today.
PS4.
No, I do now that Red Dead's out, man. I'm flirting with the idea of buying an Xbox.
Oh no, man.
I know.
You can't.
I know. I don't want.
You can't buckle to that.
I know. I don't want to give in. And the thing is, oh, that's sick. That map that you sent me is dope.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's only on PS4, by the way.
No, it's not. No. That's Spider-Man. Spider-Man's only on PS4. It's on both. It's on Xbox and PS4. So,
in that case, man, inevitably it will come to PC.
Well,
inevitably.
The thing that people are worried about is because the first one didn't come out on PC. But I agree with you. After the success of GTA Online on PC, it's like still selling like millions of copies years after. It's like 5 years.
There's no
out.
way they're not going to release it. Yeah.
I think they will. But the thing is, it's going to be a long wait. Like if you look at the release time on the PC for GTA 5, it was like 17 months after the first game came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm really good at waiting to save money, so.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm pretty decent at it, but I don't know. I really want to play that game. It looks so sick. We'll see. I'll at least wait. I'll at least wait a few months here. I could wait like 6 months, and then if they announce it, I could probably wait 6 months more. But if they don't announce it for like another 6 months, I might just, because by that time the Xbox is gonna be pretty dirt. I'll just buy a secondhand Xbox. And then
it's already pretty. If you buy the old ones, it's already dirt cheap, man. You just have to buy like not the Xbox One S, just like the previous iteration or whatever.
It's true.
You could probably, if you go to like Carousel or something, you could probably buy them for not very much money.
I'm sure. I know they're pretty cheap, especially secondhand. But like I said, I want to wait. I would much rather play it on PC because it's gonna look better on PC, and then I won't have to buy an Xbox because I don't want to do that anymore.
There's no point. If you have something to do the same exact job, you're just like basically buying the rights, basically. I mean, the software. What was the difference? Because I think it's different for GTA because GTA's development process took place over multiple platforms. They developed it for the Xbox 360, the PS3, Xbox One, and the PS4. So on that token, basically, the development process for the Xbox One and PS4 is using the same like processor architecture as a PC, basically. Yeah. So the porting is really easy, but for whatever reason, because they had to do it for the old consoles, I think that really jacked up their process too.
Yeah, I think what they did was because it released for even the Xbox One and the PS4, it released before the PC. So I think they like kind of remade it or remastered it or something for that, and then ported it from that to the PC. But that's all. Well, that's just conjecture. I don't know. I'm just saying that's what it seems like. Because it was like a year after the game came out for 360 and PS3, they released it for the One and the PS4. So. And then like a few months later released it for PC. So I'm not sure, but that's what I would guess.
Man, my room's
that game looks
like feces right now.
Oh, that's not good. Why? Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I have my window open, so I assume it's coming from outside.
It's terrible. That's one decent thing about living on the 14th floor. We don't get. I guess sometimes there are weird smells.
Yeah, we do. We get sewage smells sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know what that. It's not super bad, but. It's been happening less, I will say, than before, but it does happen. I guess you're right, but not too frequently. But the bad thing is that the wind is like 400 kilometers an hour right now.
Yeah, you can see on that wind map, man. You just get swept.
It's insane. Well, also the worst thing is we're like in a wind tunnel up here with all these tall buildings, so it's horrible.
Yeah, generally, I mean, it's not as bad as Lake Shinju, but it's a pretty, I don't know, it just kind of like traps the wind.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's all right. It's most.
If you click on that map, you can see the wind speed and like your location. Just like click on any point, and it will show you the wind speed at that point. And then if you click the Earth button, you can change it also to like, you can change it to ocean. You can change it to like PM 2.5 for like pollution. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
So you can do like ocean currents. I mean, it's got so many different things going on in there.
Yeah, it also just looks cool too.
Yeah, because it's got that movement.
Yeah.
So you can see like, for instance, the pollution. You can go to like PM 2.5 and you can actually like see it sweeping across. So you can see like basically the pollution is all being swept into the typhoon right now.
It's nice for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Taoyuan isn't really good right now, actually.
No, it's not great, but
for pollution,
I don't know. It's not bad. I mean, especially right now because the wind's so high and it's raining. It's taking most of it out, I think. Yeah.
I mean, let me check it right now. I'll check it.
Yeah, what is it?
Zhongli with the J. 30's not bad at all, right?
No, 30's pretty low, especially for us. Yeah, most of it's on the. You can see it. Most of it's on the lower like southwest coast. What did I say? It's lower southeast west coast. What is that? Southwest coast, lower southwest coast. But I don't know. Right now, that's
exactly where I am.
One good thing is not too high pollution, and that's about all I can say. That's good right now. I really want to buy a scooter so bad.
Why?
Because man, it's so much more convenient than driving that Dangta. But
what do you mean, in the rain?
Yeah, in the rain, man. And just if I need to take a lot of stuff, like we just did Halloween, so I had to. Actually, I didn't take very much. That's not true. I had to take candy though. I took a lot of candy, so it was kind of a pain. But I don't know. I talked to my mechanic the other day and asked him. They said they have a second hand, and he said about 30,000. And I was like, that's a little steep. So maybe I can offer him cash and talk him down to like 20, 25 or something. I might.
Talking about for a used bike?
It's only like a year old or something.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna do more investigation before I if I buy that, but we'll see. I was just tossing around the idea. I just asked them because they sell mostly new bikes, but they have a couple used ones. So
yeah, they have a new Kimco bike. I just saw the advertisements being plastered at me on Instagram.
Is it the
125 and 110?
Is a scooter or a motorcycle?
Yeah, scooter. It's got a stupid name. I forget what it is.
Most of the Kimco ones
time I see the
have
ad,
stupid
I'll see
names. Yeah. I don't know. They all have weird names here, but it's alright.
It's like the Kimco house or something like that.
What?
The Kimco lawnmower. I don't know. Something stupid.
They're always like the Kimco run or the Kimco jog or whatever. One of them has the Duke. I don't know if that's Kimco or not.
No, this one is Duke is
that SYM?
I forget.
I don't know. They all have dumb names though, but
this is more stupid. This was like the Kimco. I don't know.
I don't know. Have you seen anything about their electric scooter? I saw a couple people driving them around.
You're talking about the electronic bike?
Yeah, the new electric one from Kimco. They're like trying to compete with Gogoro.
Well, if it's the one that I'm thinking of, then I think we rented one on Green Island, and it wasn't great, honestly. I mean, I didn't ride it. I just saw it, and it seemed to have a lot of problems, basically, because it's got an interchangeable battery like the Gogoro, but the mechanism to hold the thing down is in the floor. And it seems to not work very well. And it seems to be sensitive to errors where it will think that it's not closed properly. But you can tell the build quality of the bike. Gogoros are the build quality is just like high. You can tell like every part on there seems like well built if you ever ride one. And that bike, if you've ever ridden like a Chinese manufactured kind of like budget quality electronic bike, like, and I have in certain, like in Myanmar and stuff. I've rented them before. That's what it feels like. It feels like a $1,000 bike, not like a Gogoro, which is a $3,000 bike. The quality is on a different league.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
The Gogoros are like definitely very high quality and look really nice. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if this is the one that you're talking about, but the one that I saw was a Kimco electronic bike, but there's probably more than one model too.
There might be. I mean, this is like the new one that they just put out, so who knows exactly what's going on with that. But they looked okay. They looked decent, but I don't know. I still think the Gogoros look better personally, but whatever.
Let me take a look. I'll go to their website right now. Yeah, this looks slightly different. They've got a range of different what do you call it? Like SKUs here. They've got some of these are expensive. One of the 66,800 Taiwan dollars. So that's probably a higher end version of it.
Yeah, that's pretty close to what a Gogoro will run you.
Yeah, Gogoros right now are between 60 and 80 depending on the SKU. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the new thing is to
idea.
have like a bunch of different models like of the same. Like the Gogoro 2 has like the extreme model with like the basket on the front or whatever, or what is that, like a grill guard type thing on there. So interesting.
Okay, the new bike is called The Kimco Many. Like MANY.
What?
That's the stupid name.
That is a stupid name.
Yeah. So
The Kimco Much. The Kimco Extra Extra.
no, you have to keep it countable, Jordan. Don't be silly.
That's true. Scooters are countable. I don't know, that's silly.
That's pretty silly.
Oh well.
New Many 110. New Many 125. It's not a bad looking bike, but yeah. I've had Sims before, so I always like Sim.
Yeah, Sims aren't bad. I mean, I liked your bike until it like died of old age.
That bike was ridiculously old, though. I mean, that
I know.
bike was
That's what I'm
Taiwan
saying.
year 92. So what is that? 2003.
Yeah, that's pretty
It was
old.
a joke. Yeah. So I mean,
I will say
it was inevitable.
my current motorcycle is a '08 US '08, and it's still runs like a beautiful piece of machinery.
Yeah, I need to take care of mine. My trip odometer is broken, so now I'm pretty sure I need an oil change, but there's no indicator to tell me so.
I honestly probably change my oil too much, but I change it like once a month, basically. Maybe once every 2 months. I change it a lot.
It's good for the engine, but
Yeah, sometimes it's maybe a little bit unnecessary, but I'd rather be because my trip odometer is broken too, so I just change it when I feel like I've ridden about 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers, which is probably pretty fast because I drive all the time.
yeah, man.
But it's all right. It's all right. It's cheap and it's fast, man. I mean,
How much do you pay for an oil change? I don't find it's cheap. Usually, for my what is it, Aeon, I usually pay about 250 to 350.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, I think that's pretty cheap because I mean, compared to like a car.
$13 for an oil change. It's in America, like a lower end oil change for a car with, let's say, a 1,500 cc engine is about $30.
Yeah.
So here let's say you pay $350. That's about half the price for an engine a tenth of the size. That doesn't really make sense.
It's true, but I mean the amount of oil you use is about half. I think for a car.
Why would you use half as much oil for an engine that's a fraction of the size? See, that doesn't make sense.
Well, part of it is also that the bikes are, especially like the older bikes, are completely oil cooled, whereas like in a car you have antifreeze and things like that are used to cool the engine, in addition to the oil. So I don't know. I'm not like a mechanic, so I would have to do more research on that to tell you exactly why. But I don't know. It's fast, and I don't think it's not incredibly expensive. So I don't know. The other stuff is cheap too. I mean, like I got a new tire, and it was not too bad. It was 2,000 or something.
See, that's almost the same price as a car tire.
Yeah, but I paid
shocking.
I paid for motorcycle tires in the U.S. and they're like well over $100 U.S. So I don't know. Tires are just expensive.
Why
well, because
so stupid.
Because you have to have them, so they can kind of charge you whatever they want.
Well, I mean, here at least in Taiwan, you can buy Taiwanese manufactured tires or imported tires, and the price differences are fairly large.
Yeah.
Like, you probably bought a domestic. Like, the domestic are around 2,000. But last time, because I'm afraid of driving in the rain now, man, I bought that Japanese tire that ran me 2,900 NT. That's 30% more expensive.
Yeah, that's a little up there, but
That's insane.
But you only have to get new tires like every couple of years. Like I've had that bike for over 2 years now, and I've only had to get one front. I just got a new front tire, and it wasn't even really like balding. It was just kind of like getting a little cracked because it was so old.
It depends on your wear patterns. I've already ran down a lot of the tread on that expensive tire that I bought in what was it, like May, and now it's November, so it's been 5 months, and I already see like a huge difference in the number of in the tread.
Yeah.
In the tread depth. Like, I'm really not happy.
You ride too hard, man. Extreme.
I definitely drive fast, but that's a lot, man. To 6 months to be wearing down the tread on a tire to like the point where you can notice it with your eyes.
Yeah. Some of these streets are a little rough. They're not super forgiving on your tires or your suspension for that matter.
At least I only have to change 2 tires. That's all I can say.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, most of the stuff here is quick. Like they changed my tire and changed my oil, and like they oiled my chain and like did a full like diagnostic thing in like 20 minutes or something like that. So, and they had to go to a different shop to get the tire, so that took time too. So it's fast, and they're the place I go is pretty friendly. I mean, every shop is obviously different, but I really like the shop that I go to now.
Yeah.
But
I like how we're just like talking about like life stuff.
I know. People love it. My mom will like this. She'll be happy to hear about everyday life in Taiwan and know that
your tires.
Yeah. She'll just like that it's so mundane that she doesn't have to worry that I'm like doing extreme stuff like jumping out of a plane or something.
Well, I'll keep the profanity to a minimum then.
It's all right. I cursed so much in the last episode. When I was going through and editing, I was like, oh. But that's a lot of bad words I said. I actually
talked. Check out this bike. This looks like a RoboCop bike. This looks cool.
What is it? What kind of which bike is it?
The Sim Vega.
Vega. Ooh.
It's cool, man. The front end looks like the old like Honda scooters from like the 1990s and 1980s. It's got a really like old-fashioned styling.
Oh yeah, that's kind of cool.
Like a little robot scooter.
Yeah, it does kind of look like a robot. That's not bad.
RoboCop is what I think of. Just like the little eye in the front.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying with that. That's not bad.
I like that.
I want to get. I really need to get a scooter, man. Scooters can be clutch in this winter, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll talk to them and see if I can talk them down. I'll be like, I always just lowball people super hard when I sell stuff or when I try to buy stuff. Like my bike, she originally listed at 25,000, and she was like dropping it because she had to leave. She was like leaving the country, and she got it down to like 20, and I was like, I'll give you like 12 or 15 for it, which is absurd for that bike. And she was like, that's too low, and I was like, well, what do you think is fair? And she was like 18. I was like, okay, I'll give you 17. And she was like, okay. I'm like, wow, got that for like a steal.
Yeah, it's not bad for 150.
For a 150 that's in, I mean, it has cosmetic damage, but the engine, I've literally never had a problem. I mean, I hit a dog doing like 60 and didn't do almost anything to it.
The way you just said that, it really sounds like it was on purpose.
It was definitely not on purpose because I would not.
I was drunk one day and I was really angry, so I hit a dog going 60 and it barely even scratched it.
No, that was like the worst thing that probably happened to me in Taiwan. Like, just broke my collarbone in 3 places. That was terrible.
Oh man, terrible. This bike is a USB charger.
What? That's very Taiwanese.
Oh, that's sick. Sorry to interrupt your collarbone story.
It's alright. I think most people that know me know about the collarbone story, so it's old news. But we should talk about some news. Is there anything you saw in the news this week that was of interest?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is this Trump like thing that he can use an executive order to end birthright citizenship.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's been basically established like Supreme Court precedent since like the 1800s, but no big deal.
Yeah.
You know, just let an idiot who like barely graduated university overturn that.
Whose wife like overstayed her visa.
Yeah, whose wife is an illegal.
Yeah.
Who's using anchor citizenship to get her family imported here on family migration.
Yeah. She's an anchor baby.
She's an anchor. Well, his children are going to be anchor babies too.
Yeah,
what's shocking to me is 2 out of his 3 wives were imported from Eastern Europe. Like,
yeah, it's true.
And then he's got an obsession with like imported goods.
Yeah,
but he just doesn't like imports from the East. I think.
Well, it's
Eastern Europe, okay, but
yeah,
China, no.
It's when in terms of people, basically it's just he doesn't like from people that have skin color that's not white, you know. So if the goods are made by people who aren't white, or if the people that are coming into the country aren't white, then they have a problem with that. So, but that's kind of more broadly the Republican MO. They don't really care about European immigration. They more care about the southern immigration. I mean, he's sending troops to the border too.
More Norwegians, isn't that what he said?
What did he say?
Why? There was that meeting he had with a whole bunch of cabinet officials where he's like talking about. Remember, he was talking about shithole countries.
Oh yeah,
and he
yeah.
said, why don't we have more Norwegians? I like Norwegians.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. What are you gonna do with a guy like that? Wait until he leaves office, I guess.
It's not gonna be long. I mean, for the sake of logic, like and reason, I wanted to give him a chance, but I mean, he's blown every chance he ever had, and he's proved that he's mentally incompetent.
Yeah, I think you have to give every president a chance, even if you absolutely despise them from the get-go. I mean, on the campaign trail, he had some decent things that he said, but of course he didn't do, like a good Republican, he didn't follow through on any of them. Basically, the only thing he did was tax cuts, and none of them were for the middle class.
Well, the tax cuts were horrible. I mean,
yeah,
the Republicans were talking. This I've lamented on this podcast even before. They talked so many years, and they talked such a good game about simplifying the tax code, and then they just complicated it further and just made things worse. They lowered the corporate rate without closing any of the loopholes.
Yep, that's right.
Like, great, you've changed a single number in it. 12,000 page tax code. So where's your simplification?
Yeah.
It's all a big crock of garbage.
It's a crock of shit, man. It's because it's not what it's about. It's about their corporate buddies that give them millions of dollars every year to cut their taxes. I mean, that's all it is. It's the biggest scam in the world. That's why you have to get that money out of politics.
But people buy this stuff, man. People are like, oh yeah, like, lowering the corporate tax rate is really going to help bring back jobs to America. Look at the jobs numbers now, Well, you didn't see these under Obama, except you actually did.
Except, yeah, that's where it came from originally. But also he was talking about he doesn't want to outsource jobs, and he's already outsourced more than Obama did in 8 years. So, like, what? And the whole carrier. Yeah, I mean, again, he's a pathological liar. Like, he just lies. He lies sometimes within the same sentence. It's just absurd. But what are you going to do? I mean, and now there was all this stuff with all the right-wing violence that's happened in the past week and a half that he basically hasn't said anything about. So,
except that, like, with the synagogue shooting, that it wouldn't have happened if they had had an armed guard.
Oh my, yeah, that's right. I forgot he said that.
And then he went on to, like, tweet about the World Series like 2 hours later.
It's absurd. And did you hear he just went to Pittsburgh, and they basically shut down the street, protesters basically blocked the street off, and they had to turn his car around because people.
Good. I hope he understands how much he's hated.
Exactly. And because they told him, they said, like, a bunch of leaders and people like that said, don't come here. We don't want you here. You're divisive, and you're not going to help. You're just going to make this about you, which is what he always does in the face of a tragedy. And so he came against their wishes, and they shut him down, which is exactly what they should. Keep it peaceful, but you got to let him know that he's not liked outside of his, like, vicious Republican, like, lizard brain base. No one likes him. So whatever, we'll see. And I mean, the thing about the pipe bombs that got mailed out, he said. Oh, yeah. I mean, one, we learned that obviously they, like, right away.
Well, of course, it's the media's fault. That's what he said.
Well, and he said they said, do you think you should tone down your rhetoric? Like, can't you see, like, this is causing like right-wing violence? And he basically said, I don't think my rhetoric has been. He's like, I might turn up my rhetoric, and it's just like, oh my gosh, man, like you.
Man, and they're doubling down on that too. Kellyanne Conway went on today, and she was like on one of the shows, and she basically said the same thing. She's like, she said that the media was responsible. No, sorry. Late night comedy show hosts were the primary people with responsibility for the synagogue shooting.
Oh my gosh!
And you know what her logic for that was?
Yeah, what's that?
Because they're causing godlessness in America. Oh. Late night comedy show hosts.
I want to vomit. Well,
because godlessness is what causes, like, hate violence.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The Ku Klux Klan, and all their years of hatred were caused by godlessness.
Yeah.
A nice Christian organization.
Nice Christian organization, that's exactly right. Oh my gosh. And
I'm not blaming godless. I'm not I mean, religion has honestly very little to do with it. that's a crazy man and social disorder, and like there's a lot of factors, but the reduction of God in the public space has extremely little to do with religious shootings.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that like you can look at other nations that are much more secular than ours, much more secular than we are, and their violence is less. It's really
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
part of it is guns, and part of it but I mean, like that the pipe bomb thing obviously didn't have anything to do with guns. He made bombs, but at the same time,
I don't think he even made bombs. I think he was just a crazy man who just made I don't think he knew what he was doing. I don't think any of the bombs would have gone off. I think he was kind of like mentally ill.
They said they had the ability to explode. Basically, they said there was the potential for an explosion. But I think you're right. They were obviously very shoddily made. Thank God.
I'm pretty sure, based on what I understood about him, he probably like went online, read the anarchist cookbook or whatever, and just like kind of sloppily threw together the ingredients and mailed them out. I don't think he really thought out anything, and I don't think they were capable of actually exploding when he wanted them to. Maybe he just put explosive materials in them.
You might be right about that. Speaking of the anarchist cookbook,
speculation.
I would like to read that, but I know if I downloaded it, that the FBI would show up at my door. So I'm going to stay away from that.
You can download it, but it's a waste of time. It doesn't really have any information. I mean, it was written by... There's a lot of speculation from people, like revolutionary people, basically, saying that the anarchist cookbook was created by the CIA or something like that, or by intelligence organizations, basically, to get revolutionaries to kill themselves on accident.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't know. I just have heard so much about it. I just find it fascinating. Obviously, I don't want to... I'm a pretty pacifistic person, so I wouldn't want to use any of it. I just think it would be interesting.
Too, but everything that I read about it was basically that the information inside it is mostly nonsense, and some of it is actually quite dangerous to the point that you could like blow a hand off or something if you're not careful.
Yeah,
and,
I'm sure.
And therefore, there's a lot of speculation that it was basically just created there to waste revolutionaries' time and possibly harm them if they got too far along their ball-making problems.
That's an interesting theory. I could see that being true. Obviously, there's a lot of misinformation put out by FBI, CIA, but that's interesting. But okay, to stay somewhat on topic, I was like really upset before they found the guy. That like right away after the pipe bombs got found out, that like all these right-wing pundits, especially like on Fox News, came out basically and said, well, this looks like it could definitely be like a left-wing hoax or like a false flag. Like you have people on Fox News calling this like a false flag, like they're Alex Jones. It's just like absurd. And of course they find the guy and look at his van. It's covered in like Democratic people with like targets over their heads and a bunch of like Trump on a tank and like, oh my gosh. Of course he's a right-winger. I mean, so I believe the stat is, there's a couple studies that I looked at, and one of them was like since 9/11, I believe it was, there have been like 38 terrorist attacks that they labeled terrorist attacks, and I think all but 2 of them were right-wingers, and the stat is something like 71% of violence is like perpetrated by right-wingers, and then was it about 27% is from Muslims, and the like 2% is from left-wingers and quote-unquote other people. So it's just like the whole rhetoric about the left is violent and Antifa and all this stuff, and it's just like, no, it's just spin, man. It's so much spin about
it feeds... I think this is kind of like a like racial cultural kind of meme that they have going on, like in a lot of the United States, basically, that the Democratic Party is basically like this coalition of like gay people and like violent radical liberal activists and gang members, just creating this kind of front of extreme chaos that's just like destroying the social fabric of America. So this plays into that. It's not about logic, it's about feeling, man. They just think about like the migrant caravan and you know the 1990s LA riots, and they just kind of bundle them all into one big thing and label that thing like leftist.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
whether it's true or not. I mean, it's nonsense, but
yeah, it's definitely not true. But that's the thing, is that's why people have to really get out there and like call it out. Like I mean, it's pretty hard to get people on mainstream news, especially like TV news, to talk about that because they want to call everything neutral. They say, "Oh, the right says the left is violent, and the left says the right is violent," and we can't look at any studies.
Taken a huge turn in the past year, man. If you watch CNN's videos, they're not the same network they were like maybe 5-6 years ago at all. They're pretty. They call bullshit a lot, man.
They have to now. I mean, they're getting to the point where they have to because they're coming under attack, and I hope that they keep that up. But I don't know. You know how I feel about mainstream news in general and CNN more specifically. But I think CNN is obviously better than.
CNN's gained a lot of respect for me.
I give some of their people respect. I think some of them are definitely worthy of respect. But I think. I don't know, like you have a lot of people that are like hit or miss. Like Wolf Blitzer, every once in a while will find a good kernel of truth, but he also does things like he asked. Someone said we need to end the illegal wars, and he was like, "Well, what about the weapons manufacturers?" And it's like, come on, man, what are you talking about?
I don't understand what you mean.
He basically they were saying we need to pull out. So I forgot who was talking to him, but he was interviewing someone, maybe Cortez,
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Yeah, he's for pulling out of wars. Thank God he's off the radar now. But I think he was talking to AOC and
AOC. Okay.
And I think she said like we need to pull out of Iraq and Afghanistan or maybe all of the Middle East wars. But he was like, what about the jobs that the weapons manufacturers will lose? And it's like, oh man, that's not the issue.
That doesn't see. Is that really a question that he asked in the context of it? I would want to see the whole interview because it seems like.
I'll try to find it, but yeah.
I feel like it seems like maybe that was taken out of context.
It's possible, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'll find the video. I also need to figure out
that's a pretty radical thing to be like, yeah, we should get out of Iraq, and then he's like, what about the weapons? I agree with you. If he actually said that, that's pretty stupid, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know. Let's see the full video.
I'll find the full video. I also need to figure out how to play videos via like internal sound so that listeners can listen to them too.
Oh, that'll be difficult.
Maybe it was in Yemen. Oh yeah, here. See if you can hear this.
Bombers that are dropping the bombs. Yeah. It is said that thousands of civilians have died in Yemen because of this. Yes, we need to have a debate over this, and I don't know what the president will do, but he ought to come to Congress and ask for permission. We've given him no authority to get involved in the civil war in Yemen, and we have to ask the bigger question, is this making it better or worse? Are there more refugees or less? Is there more chaos or less chaos with Saudi Arabia bombing into Yemen? So yeah, it's a debate we ought to have, and no president should unilaterally have this authority without the approval of Congress.
So for you, this is a moral issue because you know there's a lot of jobs at stake. Certainly, if a lot of these defense contractors stop selling warplanes, other sophisticated equipment to Saudi Arabia, there's going to be a significant loss of jobs and revenue here in the United States. That's secondary from your standpoint.
So, I mean, there you go. That's basically what he said.
Well, he's not saying he supports that viewpoint. He's just asking for his view.
Yeah,
because
okay,
that's
go ahead.
that's literally exactly the argument that Trump made. So he's saying that you're in opposition to the ideology of Trump, which is basically that the Saudis can exercise whatever they can do whatever they want basically, and the weapons contracts come first. I don't think he's in support of that viewpoint. I think he's just asking the guy.
Okay.
Was that a Republican or a Democrat? He was.
That was Rand Paul. It was Rand Paul.
Oh, there's Rand Paul. So that makes perfect sense, man. So he's basically asking Rand Paul whether he's in support of his party, the executive of his party right now, the leader. If he's in support of the same basically ideology that the weapons contracts should override whatever moral considerations we have. I don't think that represents his viewpoint, but it's hard to say.
I definitely wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's like that would be his argument. Because I don't know that I really think that he's Wolf Blitzer is a warmonger. My whole point.
I don't think that's Wolf Blitzer's value at all. I think only Donald Trump. Most Republicans are against that. And I don't know any Democrats. I seriously doubt Wolf Blitzer values the military contracts over, like, civilian lives. But
Yeah, I'm sure not. But my thing is that CNN too often, and maybe that's not the best example of it, but there are examples of them basically like, you know, like not going hard enough against like civilian casualties and things like that. But again, they're mainstream news, and so I don't know. I don't expect very much out of them. So I will give them credit, especially in the age of Trump. They've been getting better. But every once in a while I'll see a story like there was the leader of the Proud Boys. Yeah, I know. Sorry, the leader of the Proud Boys, like
the Proud Boys.
The Proud Boys, Proud Boys. But he like. Basically, they did like a puff piece on him. Like they made him. They called him like a. I would have to look up the exact wording that they used, but they called him like a hipster and like all these things. And he's like a fascist. Like he openly calls for like getting a gun, and he said in a video like grab a tranny by the throat and like you should get out and there should be more violence. And he said like since he doesn't call for specific violence. He said, like, it's fine, and he, like, relishes it. Like, you can go look at his videos online, and they're absolutely disgusting. And they basically they didn't say he was a good guy, but they didn't go after him enough. They didn't say, oh, he's calling for violence. Oh, he, like, literally talks about, like, murdering people, and, like, that the U.S. has too little violence right now. It's just, like, it's
CNN's
absurd.
defense, I would say that there's a number of journalists that write articles, and lots of people on their network as well. So I would say they probably have some people who are like whatever trying to remain neutral, but I think by and large their journalists have taken a huge swing to the less objective.
Yeah, I mean I think too often this is mainstream media in general, maybe aside from Fox News because they're clearly like a right-wing propaganda program, but I would say that the big problem is they mistake objectivity for neutrality, and they instead of being objective they remain neutral, and so they say this is what the right says, this is what the left says, instead of saying this is what the facts are, like in terms of climate change and things like that. I think neutrality is not important. If you're a journalist, I don't think you should be neutral. I think you should state what the facts are.
I'm saying all three. I agree with you. I'm saying all three. I would say you can say what the right and left say and what the truth is.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm fine with you saying, okay, having like they have debates and stuff on there sometimes. They'll have a right winger and a left winger, and to say, okay, this is what this guy says, this is what this guy says, and then but at the end you need to say, but this is what the facts are. Like if there's an argument on there, okay, the right winger says, oh, look at like violence in Chicago, look at left wing political violence, and the left winger says, no, look at the right wing violence. At the end of that, you need to say, okay, so the stats that I said earlier, okay, the majority of violence is committed by right wingers in the United States, at least in terms of like terrorism and things like that. So I don't know. I just think there needs to be more facts brought to the table, and too often they just leave it as, oh well, this guy said this and this guy said this, so who knows? I guess we can never know.
I get what you're saying. I'll give you an example though. So for this issue about the constitutionality, whether the president has the right to overturn birthright citizenship, okay? So basically, I mean, a background on that really fast. The 14th Amendment, like, states that if you're born in the United States and whatever this means, this is what is under debate, and are subject to the jurisdiction thereof, that you have birthright citizenship, basically. So Donald Trump, obviously, as the president, and you cannot issue an executive order to overturn a constitutional amendment. That's nonsense. But what he says is he has the ability to I guess, interpret to comment on some of the legislation that enshrined the laws surrounding how that's implemented in the 1950s, but also the interpretation of what it means under the jurisdiction thereof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, some people on the right saying that this is an open question. If you look at, because I googled this just to see what some legal scholars were saying, and Fox News says that the president probably does have the authority based on whatever a very small minority. But if you actually read the CNN article, they go back and they basically say, no, this is not true. And not only is it not true, and these legal scholars are in the minority, but it doesn't matter what these legal scholars say because it's actually already enshrined in Supreme Court precedent from the 1880s, basically. There was a case with a Chinese guy, and this is at the time of the Chinese Exclusion Act. So it's actually very similar circumstances, where a person was basically in the United States. His parents were there, technically illegally, non-citizens, people under the Chinese Exclusion Act, not allowed to be in the United States. And he was refused entry into the United States, and they ruled, they said, it doesn't matter that he's a subject of China or whatever, it doesn't matter that his parents were subject of China, it doesn't matter about the Chinese Exclusion Act. He was born in the United States, and therefore he has birthright citizenship. And they ended the case with that. And that's been the established precedent for nearly 150 years.
Yeah.
And CNN basically said, yeah, this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, whatever he says, whatever he thinks he has the authority, here's what the facts are. And he's wrong.
That's good, and that's what I think they should be doing. And I hope that they stay on that path even after Trump is out of presidency. But my fear is that they'll like with a lot of people, once Trump is out of the office, that everyone will be lulled back into, oh, we're back to politics as usual, where right-wingers are still as vicious and nasty, but they put on a nice face and they act like everything's okay and we're sweet and we just have a slight political difference in ideology. Where I mean, in fact, it's basically they're trying to gut healthcare and things like that. Like the whole, I mean, recently in the news, there's a lot of talk about the getting rid of pre-existing conditions again, and basically
because they can't support it.
But all these right wingers are coming out and saying, "Oh, we've always supported this." Blah 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 blah. I just watched a video today of like a compilation.
We support the idea, but we have no way to actually implement it, just like everything else. I mean, it's all a crock of garbage. But I think that you find that. Listen, I think I saw a lot of the same thing when George Bush went out of office in 2008 and Obama came in. Basically, the news media softened up again.
Yeah. I don't even think they were that hard against Bush. I think they were far too nice to Bush after he lied us into the Iraq War.
It depends who you were watching. And especially after 2006, the vitriol got a lot worse. I mean, I think a lot of people on the left felt emboldened. At the time, I think I was watching more left-wing media, but the language changed significantly after the 2006 election.
I mean, I will say that I've mostly tuned out. I haven't watched almost any TV news, and I basically just read some. I think print is better than TV news, but I read more print.
I agree with you.
I'll watch stuff on YouTube.
CNN.
Yeah.
But a lot of the CNN reporting, even the TV reporters actually do write written articles too.
Yeah.
Like I've seen reporting, I think I'm not sure. I think Acosta writes a lot.
I know.
I don't remember who exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen I mean, I'm sure all of them write at some point, because like I've seen articles by like Wolf Blitzer and stuff, but
yeah, I know Fareed does.
Yeah, I have my problems with Fareed Zakaria too, but it's all right. That's free.
I'm surprised, man. He's ideologically like extremely close to you, in most ways. At least right now, man.
Yeah.
Did you read that article that I sent you? He sounds exactly like you, basically.
I had some disagreements with that article. I need to read it one more time and then actually have a discussion, because it was a few days ago that I read it and I don't remember the exact. I remember reading it and going, I don't know if I agree with this, but yeah, overarching, I would say I more or less agreed with that article.
I think you guys share the same ideology, just come to different conclusions. So just to refresh you, the article was basically saying that that the Democratic Party is basically pretty far left on both social and economic issues, and basically the right now the Republican Party is pretty out of step on most economic issues. A lot of these Democratic like policy principles, like a raised minimum wage, healthcare for all, these things are actually popular right now. But basically, and the Democrats should keep that. But where they should kind of moderate at least their tone is on social issues. So what he actually said is, I agree with the Democrats where they are on social issues, but it doesn't matter because the American people don't. You know, so by and large, if the Democrats want to win elections, they're going to have to moderate a little bit on the social issues in order to get some of their economic stuff done. So I think you guys agree in the principle of where the Democratic Party is. You just disagree on on what should happen.
Yeah, and I a little bit disagree with the fact that American people aren't on. It depends what social issues you're talking about. I mean, if we're talking about Medicare for all, it's overwhelming support, legalization of marijuana.
But that's not a social issue. He frames that as an economic.
Those are social issues, though.
The way he frames social issues is things about transgender rights, things about affirmative action. I mean, affirmative action isn't a huge issue, but the Republicans have been trying to make a push of it in some of these lawsuits and stuff. That's, I guess, not a huge issue.
Yeah, that's
what else? Immigration, the moderation of immigration policy, all this stuff about like eliminating ICE. Basically, these things are by and large unpopular with the larger American population.
Yeah, but I think immigration reform is not incredibly unpopular. It just depends on exactly what your policies are and how you want to frame it.
Yeah, immigration reform is a word. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I know. But that's the thing is these terms, even without actually concrete policy behind them, make people react a certain way. That's why you have to get out and message. And I think also there's almost no mainstream politicians outside of like Ocasio-Cortez calling for the abolition of ICE. There's like maybe 3 or 4 like national politicians calling for the abolition of ICE.
And this is where he also agrees with you, is that the Democrats are poor at defending themselves and framing these issues. So the Democrats, they want to paint themselves as more liberal on immigration, and in that get themselves painted into a hole by the right, and then they fail to defend themselves. But if they would, I guess they need to do both what you said, a better job of framing themselves. But he also says they generally need to kind of moderate their social policies if they want to win elections.
I think you need to look at each. I would agree with that in part. Like you need to look at that in each race, though. Like for instance, I'm okay with someone running in West Virginia, like Joe Manchin, running slightly more to the right, or being more open on gun rights issues, being softer on gun control. But I think there is a line that you have to. I think you at least have to say, because if you look at the polls again, majority of people, even the majority of NRA members, are in favor of at least a background check. You know.
Yeah.
So
I would say that's not a social. I'm talking about like the cultural, like the culture wars, basically. The people who, especially baby boomers, people kind of like a little bit like Kim, maybe, just like whose thinking is like. Basically, they want to preserve a little bit of the status quo, good or not, and that's they want to preserve basically like the old Western way of doing things, and that means not moving too fast on social issues, like in regards to gay rights, that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, the boomers basically have destroyed our planet, so I don't have much love for them. But I understand that they're a huge voting
Exactly.
bloc.
I mean, you don't have to love them to need them. It's because American politics is about coalition building. It's not about getting what you want on 100% of the issues, because nobody does.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that, but I think it needs to be more measured than just to say, okay, basically. I know in that article he says like you have to have like a, what did he say, like it's okay to have like a, I don't know, I forgot what he said, but anyway, I think you have to, there is places where you have to draw a line though and say, okay, no, like I think on Medicare for all and things like that.
I don't think any Democrat would question that right now, and that's been a huge issue I've had with the Democratic Party since the 2000s.
That's not true, though.
You don't think?
That's not true in this. No. What I'm saying is it's not true in the fact that it's true for all Democrats. Because if you look at like Schumer and Pelosi, who are like the de facto leaders of the Democratic, or not de facto, they are the leaders of the Democratic Party right now. They're not in favor of Medicare for all.
Well, they're gonna.
Neither of them have called for Medicare for all.
Yeah,
I know. I agree. That's what I'm saying is, I would say vote them out, but whatever. There's too many Democrats that still aren't on board for Medicare for all, which is, like I said, it's hugely popular. Like over 60% of the American people are in favor of it. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
It's not really a relevant issue.
The Democrats,
Donald Trump would never pass that, so they would need to wait till the next presidency to even try and push like an issue like that.
Yeah, and I agree with maybe you can soften on it again, depending on if you're running in California. I don't think there's any reason to soften your rhetoric on transgender rights.
It depends where in
things
California,
like
because California is
that's true. Northern California is a little red.
Not only northern, but Eastern California, man. I mean, they've got the city districts on the West Coast are one thing, but even Orange County, some of these places on the coastal Southern California, I mean, where you get enough rich people living together, they're basically soft Republicans,
Yeah, they would be like libertarian right kind of thing, like more open. Probably,
They're
but those
more
people are
probably
probably
like Mitt
more
Romney.
in California. They're probably more open on the social issues that we're discussing because they're used to it now. They live around
Exactly.
it. They're more right on fiscal policy, which I don't think you're going to change their minds because rich people are always going to want more money. I think at some point you have to say, okay, you have enough, all right? So you got to pay your fair share of taxes.
It's true, but on the other hand, I mean, the Donald Trump has really turned a lot of like suburban Republicans away from the party, according to a lot of polling results. Basically, that they're
Yeah.
kind of whatever the ideas that they held about the party, about especially the economic facets of the party, have completely been overturned. The Republican and Democratic Party have essentially switched places in the last 10 years on a lot of economic issues, especially in regards to trade. So it's not so clear anymore, actually.
Yeah, it's
Republicans
true.
who
We're
10
in
years ago under
quite an interesting time.
I mean, George W. Bush, like a huge proponent of free trade and like opening trading, and the Democrats and a lot of the unions were completely. I mean, the Democrats in support of the unions were diametrically opposed to them, and now it's completely shifted. There was the Democrats are the party of free trade, and the Republicans have followed Trump into this anti-trade sentiment, and that for
true.
people who care about specific issues like that and don't actually just listen to what the party leaders say, it's alienated a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's not a huge number. I think the biggest factor is just his rhetoric and the way he presents himself. I think a lot of people don't delve deeply in these sort of issues. I don't think they're really paying that much attention. Maybe they watch CNN or Fox or MSNBC and they see little sound bites, but I don't think a lot of people understand like fiscal policy.
I have a
Like
feeling you're
a
right.
lot of people still are. I mean, there are still a lot of right wingers, using that term obviously very broadly, that still think that the tax cuts are going to be good for them. The Trump tax cut that just happened, even though he already came out and said he's going to try to do another tax cut that's going to help the middle class, basically admitting that the first one wasn't for the middle class.
Yes, it wasn't. I mean, the main part of the last tax cut was the corporate tax rate cut. That's basically why he did it.
Yep.
So, I think.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. On one hand,
We'll see.
On one hand, I'm optimistic.
All we can do is wait and see.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's going to be. I mean, what are we? 1st of November, so we have 5 days until the midterms. So hopefully people get out and vote. I mean, the Senate, like we've already talked about this, but the Senate is probably a foregone conclusion that the Republicans are going to either stay the same or pick up 1 or 2 seats. But the House has a decent chance of flipping. So
The House, from the polling that I've been reading, the House is probably going to flip and the Senate's going to stay. And these are all pretty good chances, but that's basically the current projection. So what that means is essentially that nothing is going to happen. It just stayed President Trump.
yeah.
But I don't know how this, because President, I don't want to call him President Trump even. President Trump in 2019, when he's campaigning for re-election, basically, it's only next year, if you can believe that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's basically going to say, that any problems that have happened under his administration are all happening in the past year because of Democratic obstructionism. It's just going to provide him a line, basically, even though it's nonsense. He's accomplished so little, and he's so clearly incompetent in his first couple of years. He's had so many fumbles. I mean, it's like abundantly obvious for anyone who's objective, but people are stupid, man, and some are going to buy these arguments.
It's true, but I think you can. There's like CNN, I think, and there's 1 or 2 others that are doing a lot of panels with either independents or even Republicans that voted for Trump, and a lot of them are just they regret their vote so much. So I think he is alienating some of those people to the point where it doesn't matter how he spins this later. They already know that he's a pathological liar. So I think a lot of people are pretty close to checking out totally on his presidency and will never vote for him the second go around.
I hope so.
But I will never. Yeah, I hope so too. And I'll never rule out the fact that he could, or the potential for him to win re-election. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that, and it depends. Like I always say, it depends who the Democrats run, and it also depends on who opposes him in the Republican Party. So, Bernie or bust, baby, 2020.
Well, I think this has the potential to be a little bit transformative because he's alienated so much of the Republican Party that if there was I think that most similar election is probably going to be to like I think it was 92 or 96 when Ross Perot ran basically, and he split both parties, but he more split the Republican Party, and basically lost the election for the Republicans by having a challenger vote in the presidency, and we could have the same thing happening here, if, like a Jeff Flake or something like that, or I was going to say John McCain, rest in peace. If a John McCain came out and ran another campaign on the other side, then it could have the potential to completely fumble the election for him.
It's true. I mean, there's going to be a ton of candidates on both sides. I think that the Democrats are going to try to run a ton of people basically the same way the Republicans did last time, and I think a lot of Republicans are going to run for the presidency again. I think it's going to be a huge field to start out with. So.
I'm not sure because it's when you have an incumbent president, the primary challenges are usually like weak and basically get shut down pretty fast.
It's possible, but it's hard to say because he's so hated even by his own party that I don't know that he'll get a lot of support, and there's so much fodder for these people to throw against him.
He's hated
in the
by
primary.
Some people in his own party, but it's hard to say, man.
I think a lot of the politicians on the right that back him, they just back him because he's the president, and they have to hold it all together. But I think once they don't have to back him, once he's no longer the actual leader, I think they can sling a little bit more mud at him, and I think he's going to be a pretty easy target. But I don't know. He's really good at making his own case, even though he's an idiot and he lies all the time. He's good at being the strong, tough guy and just brushing off any attack that comes.
That's what I'm afraid. He's basically
calling it lies or fake news.
He's going to strong arm himself into the front of whatever any primary challenges, basically, and say that this is going to lead to the destruction of the party. And in some ways, I mean, the party is already headed for a kind of at least recalibration, if not breakup.
Yeah,
but. He's basically going to make the case that not only won't you win, but you're going to destroy the party. You're going to destroy your own name, and he's going to really strongly challenge any primary challengers against him, and make it very difficult. Make the case that
I think it. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. I was just going to say I agree with you. I think it will be difficult, but keep going.
I think you just make the case that if they go against him, I lost my train of thought. If they go against him, what?
Sorry, buddy. I mean, yeah, you were saying he's gonna argue that it's gonna destroy the party, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that would be an argument that he can make, but I don't know. It depends on what happens in the next year and how the messaging all turns out and what else he bungles, because he's a serial bungler. Sure. He always screws everything up. So. I mean, we'll see what happens. In the short term, there's a few elections that I'm really excited about. So, I'm hoping if Beto won in Texas, I would be through the roof.
I think it's unlikely.
And there's also
still in polling.
It's unlikely, but he's been within. He's the biggest gap that I saw recently was like 5 points, which is not bad. I think it's going to be almost impossible, but it is possible. He has like I think it's like a 20 to 30% chance of winning. And also Andrew Gillum in Florida, I really hope he wins against his like thinly veiled racist opponent. And then there's I forget her name. I need to look up her name, but there's a African American woman running for the Georgia governorship, and she's pretty good too. I hope she wins as well.
Georgia's going to be hard.
It will be, but she's actually, from some of the polls I looked at, she's pretty close, a lot closer than you would guess for a black Democratic woman to be doing in Georgia. But the thing is, her opponent, this has happened in Kansas too, her opponent is the current Secretary of State, and there's huge voter purging going on, and he's basically taking tons and tons of black people off the rolls. And there's also, I think you have to go pretty soon, but we need to do a discussion. I'll bring some more research, but there's a couple of really good podcasts and also a lot of good articles about voter purging that's going on in this election and in past elections, and also the voting machines that are like absolutely undemocratic and like have been flipping votes in Texas. It's been happening in Georgia in some of the early voting. This straight flips your vote from a straight Democratic Party to like voting for Ted Cruz. So the fact that those are owned and operated by private companies, I think is absolutely absurd.
You tell me about it next time, okay?
All right, we'll talk about it. Hopefully we can. I know you have stuff to do tonight, but maybe we can get on maybe Thursday night
Today is Thursday.
I mean Friday night. I know Friday. I forgot because we usually record on Wednesday. Maybe Friday night or sometime Saturday. I don't know. We'll figure out when you got time. We'll be in touch.
All right, later, man.
All right, later, buddy. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Appreciate you guys coming by. I hope that you guys keep listening. Like, share, comment, all that jazz. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On all three, we are free trying to post. And all the streaming sites and streaming apps, you can follow us on free trying to pod. If you have any trouble finding us, just let me know. I will help you, hook you up, and just let us know what you guys think. And really, please, if you can, share with your friends if you think this podcast is good at all. We appreciate you guys spending your hard-earned time listening to